Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greyson Krone, and I'd like to do a little presentation today on Chick-fil-A franchising. So to start off, I'd like to give you all a little history of Chick-fil-A. So it was founded by a devout Christian named Truett Cathy in 1967 or 1946, called the Dwarf Grill. And then the first location was in a mall food court, opened in Atlanta, Georgia in 1967. And this is where most of all the original Chick-fil-A restaurants were in mall food courts. Until in 1986, they opened up their first standalone location, also in Atlanta, Georgia. And due to high consistency and high growth in the 70s and 80s, Cathy developed a model as the backbone of Chick-fil-A that still opens today. And this is a system of operators who run locations across the country, aka their franchising system. And their mission statement is to glorify God by being a faithful steward of all that is entrusted to us, to have a positive influence on all who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And this was Dan Cathy's 1986 answer to why are we here, when they got together as a group and as a family and decided where they're going to further and grow their business. So a little bit about Chick-fil-A's franchising system. So Chick-fil-A took on the Christian policies and Christian beliefs of Truett Cathy and established a food chain more efficient, more polite, and more beloved than any other chain across America. And these beliefs basically became a rule book for running a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And this ultimately created an army of true Cathy clones who were true believers in the company's message of hospitality and fried chicken, who spread the gospel of Chick-fil-A across America. And just a little more about their franchising system. It costs just $10,000 to open up a Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A covers all startup costs such as real estate, construction, equipment, etc. And 0.15 to 0.4% of all applications are accepted, which means last year alone there's 68,000 applicants and only 100 got selected, which makes this 37 times harder to get into Harvard than it is, or to own your own franchise than it is to get into Harvard. So here's a comparison of the average cost of starting up a fast food franchise, and you can see Chick-fil-A is just $10,000, while Burger King is the top, which is at $2.6 million. So the process is fairly simple other than the interview process. So you just submit a form to Chick-fil-A's website showing that you're interested and that you would like to eventually become a franchisee of Chick-fil-A. And then you go through multiple rounds of interviews, and then they actually will interview your family members too, because as Truett Cathy once said, you can't run a business if you can't run your own life at home, then how are you supposed to be able to run a business? And then after that, you go through a multi-week training program. So this brings me to the question of why does Chick-fil-A franchising work so well? So you must follow a very, very strict guidelines, such as you can't have any other job, you can't sell your franchise, and you also can't pass it down to your heirs. And before the death of Truett, you had to have a one-on-one interview and meeting with him before the finalization of your franchise. And that just goes to show how important it is to Truett Cathy and his family that they pick the right operators for their companies or for their restaurants. And this shows they award opportunity rather than selling units, so they don't want to generate as much revenue as they can, but they want to award opportunity to the correct candidates and not just people who are just trying to make money. And so this makes me come to the conclusion that it's not an investment but more of an opportunity when owning a franchise. And on their website even said they select the best candidates for a limited number of franchise opportunities. And here's another comparison chart that shows that the average Chick-fil-A restaurant brings in $4.4 million, while the second closest is Whataburger, which brings in just $2.7 million. And so this brings me to my ultimate question: is this really franchising? Because the operators are not called franchisees; they're called operators. The company picks locations and owns the actual restaurant itself, and then they cannot sell or pass down their franchises, and they cannot own multiple locations. So all in all, Chick-fil-A basically wants 100% control of the company, but they just want someone who's well-rounded enough to run their company day in and day out. And also, operators obtain no equity in the restaurant, so they don't get any of the money that comes in. And for my conclusion, I think becoming a Chick-fil-A franchisee does not necessarily make you an entrepreneur, but almost makes you, in my opinion, an employee of Chick-fil-A because of the very strict guidelines that one must follow. And so any questions? Thank you.